Welcome everyone. Children, we have studied about growth, the process of differentiation that together is called as development. We have seen what are growth regulators, what are the different growth regulators. That is, we have 5 growth regulators, that is auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid and ethylene. What functions they perform, how are they useful to the plant, in what stage which hormone is helping, because in each stage of a plant a hormone plays an important role. Sometimes one single hormone plays an important role, sometimes both of them together work. So it depends on the different phases. We have seen that as depending on the functions, the growth regulators are 2 types, growth promoting and as well as growth inhibiting. Auxins, cytokinins and gibberellins were growth promoting regulators, and this abscisic acid and ethylene, they are growth inhibiting regulators. And we have also seen what is seed dormancy, that is a condition in which the seed will be suspending all its activity, it will not germinate. We have seen what are the reasons why the seed will not germinate, internal reasons as well as external reasons. Internal reasons, that is intrinsic factors, 2 intrinsic factors are there, that is if the embryo is not totally matured or the growth regulators are not properly produced, and sometimes the genomic factor is responsible for the seed to go under dormancy. And we have seen that external conditions, how it affects the seed dormancy, that is how temperature, how moisture helps in the germination of seed, how with the absence of those things the seed will go under seed dormancy. We have seen almost all the things which are helpful in the growth of which are there for the growth of growth and development of plants. Now here we will see another topic, a small topic, that is photoperiodism, the period in which the plants are exposed to sunlight, the period for which the plants are exposed to sunlight. This exposure of plants to sunlight is very essential. Here not only for photosynthesis, apart from photosynthesis, this light is very essential for inducing flowering, because when the plants grow they produce flowers. With the help of the flowers, seed will be, that is fruits will be formed and seeds will be formed. So here this for flowering of the plants, the duration of light is very essential. For how much amount of, that is duration, the plant was exposed to sunlight, it determines the it helps in inducing the flowering of the plant. So there is a measure, for example, there is a critical duration, so that is a measure, a standard measure. So here this critical duration will be different for different plants. It will be different for different plants. For example, the critical duration is 8 hours. The critical duration is 8 hours. So plants have the ability to detect, so how much of for how much of hours they will be able to get the sunlight. Here plants require periodic exposure. Plants require periodic, timely exposure to light for inducing flowering. To produce flowers, plants are needed to be exposed to sunlight for a period of time. And one interesting aspect is that plants have the ability to measure whether they will be getting that much amount of sunlight in the day or not. They have the ability to detect the amount of sunlight, how much of sunlight they will be getting. They have that ability to detect. So, the critical duration, a standard measure we take. For example, the critical duration is 10 hours. 10 hours. So, the plant some plants require more than 10 hours of sunlight to produce flowers. Some plants require more than 10 minutes to produce flowers, and some plants require less than 10 hours to produce flowers. So, that 10 hour is the critical duration. If the plants require that is more than 10 hours to induce flowering, then they are called as long day plants. They are called as long day plants. If the plants require less than that critical duration, then they are called as short day plants. For example, I already said if 10 hours is the critical duration, then if the plants get the sunlight for more than 10 hours, then only they will be producing flowers. If they get less than 10 hours, they will not produce flowers. They will not produce flowers. They will detect whether they will be getting more than 10 hours of light or not. They will already detect it. The plant have that ability, capacity. So, if they are sure that they will be getting that much of light, then they will be producing flowers. But if they are not sure that that is if they are not getting the more than 10 hours of light, then they will not produce flowers. Even if they get 10 hours of light, still that 10 hours of light is not essential. They need more than 10 hours of light. So, such plants which requires more light than critical duration, those are called as long day plants. Those are called as long day plants. And the plants which require less than 10 hours of light, if they get 10 hours of light now, more than the 10 they are getting, but they will not produce. They require only 7 hours. So, they already got 7 hours, but still they have got extra now 3 hours, but this extra is harmful for them. They will not, when they get the extra hours now, they will not produce flowers. So, they should get sunlight which should be less than that critical duration. Then such plants are called as short plants. Such plants are called as short plants. And this critical duration will be different for different plant. For mango plant, it will be different. For neem plant, it will be different. For tomato, it will be different. For potato, for every plant, it will be different. The critical duration will be different for different plants. But critical duration is the measure. If they are getting more than that, then they are called as long day plants. If they need more than that, then they are called as long day plants. If they need sunlight exposure less than that critical duration, then they are called as short day plants. They are called as short day plants. This light period, this duration of light is also important. Apart from duration of light, duration of darkness is also important. Duration of darkness is also important. For example, if the plant requires 13 hours of sunlight, if the plant requires 13 hours of sunlight, then how much dark period it should have? It should have 11 hours of darkness. It should have 11 hours of darkness. If it does not get 11 hours of darkness, then only also the flowering will be affected. So, along with this duration of light, the duration of dark is also important. The duration of dark period is also important. In short day, if they need less exposure to light, then that means they require more dark period. If they require more light period, then they require if they require more light period, then they require less dark period. Both of them are related. Both of them are related. That is, duration of dark is also important. If more light is required, that means less dark is required. If less light is required, that means more dark duration is required. So, dark and light periods are relative to each other. If more dark, then less light. If more light, then less dark. So, they are relative to each other. But there are some plants which does not depend on the duration of light or darkness. If it is more also, it is not problematic for them. If it is less also, it is not problematic for them. So, such plants which does not depend on the duration of night and day, then those are called as day neutral plants. Those are called as day neutral plants. They does not depend on the amount of light to which they are exposed. They are not dependent on amount of darkness to which they are exposed. So, such plants are called as day neutral plants. Long day plants, long hours of light, less darkness. Short day plants, less light, more darkness. Here in day neutral plants, there is effect is not there of light or dark. Simply if they have to produce flowers, they will be producing flowers. So, such plants are called as what? Day neutral plants. So, apart from this response of plant to period of day and night, this response of plant for flowering to this period of day and night, this process is called as photoperiodism. The response of plants to duration of day and night, so that response is called as photoperiodism. This phenomenon is called as photoperiodism. This photoperiodism, here what happens is, for example, this is the shoot. This is the shoot, vegetative shoot. So, before flowering, this vegetative shoot changes into, that is, modifies into flowering shoot. Before flowering, the first change which is seen is the vegetative shoot will modify into flowering shoot. The vegetative shoot will modify into flowering shoot. Here cell division, rapid cell division will takes place, and here bud is formed, then it will change into flower. So, the vegetative shoot changes to flowering shoot. This is the first change. For flowering of plants, the first thing which is needed is vegetative shoot should be changed to flowering shoot, because flowers will be on the stem itself. So, vegetative shoot needs to be changed to flowering shoots. And here apart from this change, one more change which is required is of hormones. There are certain hormones which are produced by the leaves. For example, this is the leaf and this is the shoot. It has been modified to flowering shoot. Earlier it was vegetative shoot, now it has been modified to flowering shoot. After modification of this shoot to flowering shoot, here the leaves, on the leaves, when the light falls now, the leaves releases certain hormones. So, those hormones which are responsible for flowering. So, they travel from this tip to, from here to here, then they go up, they travel here. Now, with the presence of this hormones on this flowering shoot here, and with this period of exposure to day and night, that is light and darkness. So, now flowering will be induced. So, apart from this duration of light and dark and this vegetative shoot changing to flowering shoot, hormones are also responsible for flowering. These hormones will migrate from leaves to shoot apices, that is shoot apex, where flower will be produced. So this was about photoperiodism. In this chapter we have one more small topic, that is vernalization. We will take up in the next class. Hope this is clear to you. That is the topic of photoperiodism. This photoperiodism is important, and this next topic, that is vernalization, though it is very smaller topic, but it is also very, very important. This whole lesson is important. You will definitely get one short question, and you will definitely get one very short question. Short and very short are sure from this. In short questions we have this, how this auxin, physiological effects of auxin, physiological effects of gibberellins, physiological effects of cytokinins, then abscisic acid we have, then seed dormancy we have. So this all the topics are very, very important. So now we will move to the last topic, vernalization, in the next class, with which we will be finishing this topic.